Last episode, we witnessed the downfall of Bishop Sycamore High School. However, we haven't covered the man behind it all, the man who coached, recruited, and brought Bishop Sycamore to both fame and infamy. Welcome to Scandalous. Centurion, a term first coined back sometime around 8 to 900 BC. A centurion refers to an officer within the Roman army who leads a group of soldiers. The centurion would train their soldiers on and off the battlefield, while dealing punishments and assigning duties to their soldiers. A position within the Roman army's growth required bravery and leadership. Fast forward to 2019, we would see the creation of Bishop Sycamore Centurions. And much like soldiers, football players need a person in charge to lead the unit to victory. For Bishop Sycamore High School, it would rely on the man who would not only create the school, but will be with the program until its death.
Roy Johnson, and that's ROYJOHNSON.
Roy Johnson, born and raised in New York, remembered his love for the game starting in the 3rd grade. Johnson, his brother, and his school buddies would play football at his local church growing up in Long Island, and in doing so, Johnson would fall in love with the game and played throughout high school, eventually ending up going to Ohio State, where he would attempt to walk on under head coach John Cooper. Unfortunately, Johnson wouldn't make the team and would quickly transfer back to his home state, playing football at Iona University in New Rochelle. In his post-playing career, Johnson would actually end up with a marketing internship for the New York Jets under legendary head coach Bill Parcells and future Hall of Fame head coach Bill Belichick, where Johnson discovered his new fate and passion.
For a better analogy, I had all the ingredients that definitely put it in the oven to come out with this idea that that's something that I really wanted to do. And, watching them run the Jets, was obviously a opportunity of a lifetime. So, right, because you learn about what it is to run a program at the professional level.
With Johnson now having a mission to run a football program, he wanted to supply more than just the game of football. He wanted to create an outlet for young men to gain recognition for their talents within the game, and strived for his young players to acquire scholarships who usually came from rough homes or backgrounds. Before Bishop Sycamore, there was a program that I haven't mentioned yet. Back in 2018, Roy Johnson was actually the athletic director and coach for Christians of Faith Academy, located in Columbus. And much like what I covered in the first 2 episodes, COF was an online charter school that played some of Ohio's best teams. Unfortunately for the program, COF would fold after its first season.
Correct. The church we were working with, the bishop, Bishop McKinley Young, who's now dead, he had said in a statement to the media that he knew nothing about myself or any of this project going on with COF Academy. And then when he said that, a lot of our sponsors and stuff started pulling.
Although what Johnson said actually contradicts the statement that was found in the Department of Education's investigation. In this document, they said COF folded after the school was removed from the department's list of non-chartered, non-tax funded programs because it failed to meet the requirements. The department even stated in its document it was not open for instruction and it had no pupils in attendance. Regardless of the actual reason, COF would ultimately collapse. Fast forward to 2019, Johnson knew he had to continue his goal of operating a prep school, and hence the birth of Bishop Sycamore. And of course, 3 years later, through all the drama that has been covered in the first 2 episodes, the Ohio Department of Education, the OHSAA, and the state were never able to enforce legal punishment or action against the Columbus-based school.
Because too many teams play against club teams. I found the loophole and they can't close it. So I don't got to explain shit. I can get a club team together, get a bunch of money, and go up to any school and say, you want to play us? Let's get down. But you don't stop it because there's too much money in it. Nobody, OSHA don't run shit. And as long as they got Sex Rule 911, that you're allowed to play any club, in any team you want, including club teams, that's never going to change.
Johnson is correct with his statements. There was no rule that prevented club teams from playing against state-affiliated opponents. Bishop Sycamore wasn't governed by the OHSAA, so they couldn't be fined by the association, and that includes the moments where they breached contracts. For example, in episode 1, the WVSCAA couldn't deal with the school's violations toward Point Pleasant in their matchup, or the one that can even be seen in HBO's documentary against Warren G. Harding. An association's rules can't be broken if the team isn't technically affiliated with them. Not to mention the problem that schools rarely ever report the incident if it's discovered. There was no point to report a non-affiliated club team like Bishop Sycamore. They were seemingly untouchable. Coach Johnson and Bishop Sycamore found a loophole in the system and used it to generate plenty of money and opportunity for their team. Amid all the accusations with fraud and PPP loans, eviction notices from hotels, and rumors that players weren't even fed, Roy Johnson and Bishop Sycamore were never charged for anything. The school has faced up to over 30 lawsuits in the span of its existence, but still nothing has changed or occurred since 2021.
There's not enough rules, and you're not going to change them. Do you know it's the most interesting thing when you go read that report? When you read the end of that report for the Ohio Department of Education, and this is what I did appreciate about the documentary. It says at the end, the way the rules stand and the laws stand of now, there's nothing prohibiting Bishop Sycamore from returning. If what I did was so bad, I have two questions. Why didn't you change the laws, which you're not going to? Why am I not in prison? And if I did, and I'm out here taking PPP loans in people's names and not telling anybody, you don't think I'd be in prison? Like, do you know how illegal it is? And nobody could prove it. Local police couldn't prove it. The FBI couldn't prove it. Nobody can prove it.
Of course, you are always innocent until proven guilty. Although with all the rumors and the reports that players were 19 to 23 years old, Johnson stated that this simply wasn't true.
There was nobody 21 years old, 20 years old, or anything like that. All of them met the eligibility age. As far as who I can remember, and any ways we went to identify that, right? And I've gone back since then, and I looked at the transcript of it because I've had it printed out. And Luganville didn't really dog me, but Shariar, an Indian motherfucker, talking about a black dominated game made me want to throw up. So I don't fool with him at all. Like, look, I never came out and spoke bad about it, but here's the things that you said that were false, right? He said,
Bishop Sycamore told us they had a number of Division I prospects on their roster. To be frank, a lot of that we could not verify. And
Correct.
They did not show up in our database. They did not show up in the databases of other recruiting services. So it's okay. If that's what you're telling us, fine. That's how we take it in.
So are you telling me Trillian Harris, Mikos Todd didn't have offers? Armand Scott didn't have offers? Jeremy Naborn didn't have offers? Like, these guys were 3- and 4-star players. So why did you say that, Shariar? Like, that motherfucker need to be announcing shit with them Indian motherfuckers slapping each other in the chest. He don't need to be out here talking about football. This ain't your shit.
Through all the drama, all the what-ifs, and finger-pointing, there is no doubt that Roy Johnson and Bishop Sycamore did some questionable and even immoral activities. However, there was a valiant effort to give student athletes to reach the next level, but there were still several players who regret getting involved with the program. Although the 3-year tenure of Bishop Sycamore was filled with drama, the case has been laid to rest for some time now.
Everything that went on within the scandal, with all the players, all the school and stuff like that, Bishop Sycamore is returning.
Yeah, that's the best news. But just like I told you so. I took it 2 years off. Want to make sure I buttoned some things up. Went and recruited a really good quarterback. Went and recruited really good linemen. We're going to start going to camp in June, July. We're going to be up, running, and ready to go.
This episode was written, narrated, and produced by Jake Collins. Music is by Daz Dillinger. Scandalous is an individual project that can be found on your favorite podcasting platform. Thanks for listening to the first set of episodes. This is Scandalous.